You didn't start a business to put out fires, but here you are, holding the extinguisher. Business isn't theory, it's pressure, late nights, tight margins, the thing that keeps breaking no matter how many times you fix it. When the room's on fire, the amateurs shout, the pros stay calm. That's the Fixers and Founders way, part discipline, part rebellion. We walk into broken systems, find the pulse, and make it run clean. Because calm isn't weakness. Calm is a strategy. We're operators, builders, problem solvers, born from the grind, built for the builders. Join us now as we chat with fixers and founders just like you. Let's jump in.
Welcome to Fixers and Founders, where vision meets velocity. I'm Tony.
I'm Forrest.
Today's guest, David Gibson, brand fixer, marketing operator, and systems-minded growth advisor for the businesses that can't afford fluff. David has spent 20 plus years helping companies cut through the noise, bridging the gap between marketing and sales with sharper messaging, smarter systems, and real metrics that move the needle. From running a top digital agency to launching his own bourbon brand, he's seen what works and what's just expensive chaos. Now, through Salt and Lime Consulting, he helps founders align their brand, budget, and back end so their marketing actually works and their sales team actually trusts it. If your funnel is foggy and your ad spend feels like a black hole, this one's for you. I'm Tony.
I'm Forrest.
This is Fixers and Founders. Let's get it done.
Let's go. David, I'm excited to have you here. You've led an agency, launched a startup, and now run your own consulting firm, which I do like the name.
Thank
you. For sure. What drew you to become the fixer for broken marketing systems?
I think it's really because I really got a situation where I see companies get taken advantage of. And it's really one of those hard moments for my industry when we think we're doing all these things that are kind of complicated, a little bit of voodoo magic, a little bit of faith and trust. I mean, nobody can touch a website, right? So there's a lot of ether out there, a lot of belief that has to happen in what we do. And when I see companies that are doing things that are blatantly wrong or knowingly deceptive, it really is a little hard to swallow. A lot of companies too, the ones that I work with in particular are usually smaller businesses. So every $1,000 monthly budget that somebody spends on something that's going nowhere is $1,000 less they take home to their family. So for me, it's going and figuring out, how do I move the needle and how do I preserve revenue and get return on these people's money. I could probably personally couldn't move the needle much for Regions Bank or Delta Airlines, but if I can go into somebody who's a small business and cut their $5,000 marketing budget to $2,000 and put that $2,000 on the right thing and it returns money like it should, then I made a difference. That's what I like to do.
Yeah, and I love the story you've told me several times and shared with other people about, just a local restaurant paying for Google ads in Europe. And the ad agency is just cleaning house because they're making a commission off the dollar spend, and the ads do no good for a restaurant locally to have ads display in Europe.
Nope, not at all. Like maybe it'll come. I mean, maybe. I guess.
Maybe. Probably not, though.
Not a good investment. So yeah, that was a particularly choice weekend for me.
That's right.
So, David, clearly your heart is in this for the small business owner. I can appreciate that you strive to have them bring home more bacon to their families, you put it. So when these founders bring you in, what's the most common gap that you see between their marketing efforts and actual sales results?
A lot of it is it's not tracked properly. That's most of the time. If I ask a company, one of the first things I'll say is, what would you pay for a sale? How much would you pay for a sale? Most of them can't answer that. They might tell you what they would pay for a lead. But that's really not the question. If you know what your margin is on your product, you know what your average product sale is, you should know what your pain tolerance is to buy that sale. And so from that, I can get good marketing to figure it out. A lot of times people miscalculate. They say, well, this lead cost me $100 and I close 1 out of 4. I'm like, okay, so that's $400 for a sale. They're like, no, I pay 100. I'm like, no, you close 3, right? Then you got to pay for those. And then more importantly is, what did it cost to work those 3 you didn't sell? How many hours went into writing proposals or rolling a truck to do a thing? So really your cost of that sale was about $800, not $100. There's a lot of soft costs. And so you start peeling that back a little bit to figure out how good their systems are. And that's another place we kick in as we say, where do these leads go? Well, they go in a spreadsheet. Okay, they come in via email. Okay. How do you follow back up with them? How do you track them? What are you doing with them? What's the cadence? What's the guest experience? What's the reach out plan for 6 months from now? And sometimes you do have a marketing department, a sales department. It's kind of like those old Budweiser ads that taste great and less filling. They're like better leads, better marketing, better leads. And you got to figure out who's right. And a lot of times they're both. I've had companies. This is a recent one. It's pretty funny. They told me they'd had their website for several years and never made a sale on it. And I said, okay, let's figure out what's going on. So I look under the hood, and all the products are in there. They've got shipping set up correctly. They've got things feeding out correctly. And I'm like, okay, this doesn't make any sense. So it's hard talking to them. And I came with this marketing idea, like they're selling the wrong thing. Like I know how they're positioning this, and it's on the how long their company's been around, and you know, give old Tony a call, and we'll get you fixed up. And I said, yeah, what you do is you fix machines. When these people have $1 million machine that can't run. It's the price of $1,000 part isn't the pain. The pain is how long that machine's not producing widgets or clearing fields, or the shrimp boat's not out in the water. And I thought this was great. Like, this is a great idea. I'm gonna reposition everything to be about you. You click, we ship. Like, we're gonna fix it. Because they were telling me they were losing business to China. Prices were cheaper, all these things. I'm like, we need to talk about how we're gonna get that thing to the field. We're gonna get them a camera on it and get them reinstalled. So we're not gonna let we're gonna this be great. Then I dug into the website a little bit more, and I found a product page, and it said at the very top in big letters on every page, please note, prices are subject to change. Please call before placing an order. And I'm like, well, maybe that's why you're not getting any online sales, because you pretty much told them not to buy it online from you. Sometimes you find funny things, but it's just, you know, figuring out what the problem comes from is kind of the first part of it.
The root cause of the problem.
What a deep insight there. Great takeaway. I've never heard someone talk about the cost per sale.
Yeah.
Excellent.
It,
Cost per lead all day, like you said.
Yeah,
Never
yeah.
cost per sale.
Or look at what cost per impression, or cost per thousand, or cost per click. You'll hear those a lot. But and kind of like, if you've got 1,000 people on your website and one converts to a sale, all right, that's a problem, maybe. Depending on what your products are and what you sell things for. But if you had 10 people on your site and one converted, we got to solve a different problem. Because you're getting 10%, not about 0.1%. All we need is more people. In the first case, you probably need to figure out how to convert more. Why are we only getting 1.1% conversion? So you can fix those problems once you identify them, and then kind of work the dollars into it. And you find things that these platforms are smart. They know what a sale costs you, and they know what your site sells for. So they're very apt to position bid dollars around what leads for cars cost less than leads for protein powder.
Interesting. Good stuff. So shifting gears to your bourbon business, because I know that's a conversation piece. Every time I've been around you, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
that's the guy that has a bourbon business. So
Yeah.
you started a bourbon brand on the side while you were in your non-compete status. Judge Roy Bean Spirits, what did that teach you about storytelling and product market fit?
Well, I kind of tell, but it's like my greatest hits album. I got to take everything I learned working for clients and put it to work for myself.
Yeah.
I spent some years working with some kind of big names in entertainment, and I learned about the power of white labeling things. I'm like, okay. And whiskey is one of those things you can actually white label it. So I thought, I will learn a lot from this. I know nothing about manufacturing. I know nothing about shipping and logistics. I know nothing about federal, ABC approvals. I will enjoy this. So I called a friend of mine who was with the ABC, and I said, what do I got to do to get a bourbon approved to sell? He said, get your samples done and get the marketing pitch put together and come and present it, and then we'll make a decision. And I told him what I was going to do, and he said, that sounds good. We might try that south of I-10. So off I went. I learned how to get recipe approvals, and I learned that the bourbon industry is very friendly. They all help each other. And marketing and computers, everybody thinks everybody else is a moron. That's just kind of the thing of, why did you sign this contract? Look what they did. They spelled this wrong. This is guy who built that. It just goes on. Like, I'm going to make myself better by making it about a little worse. Bourbon, if I called any of the bourbon contacts I had right now and said, I'm going to Huntsville, who should I call on? They give me a list. 2 or 3 would call ahead for me and say, "Hey, Gibson's gonna come in and see y'all about his bourbon. Y'all need to make sure you talk to him." So it's a very friendly business. They all work together, and the idea is rising tides raise all ships, and so it's really fun to see that in action. It's a very small knit community, and kind of the reason I did it was that when you walk in a room, people say, "What do you do?" And you go, "Well, I used to build websites and do digital marketing consulting." Da, 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 and they kind of glaze over, and you go, "Well, I make bourbon." They're like, "Let's talk to that guy." So it is a kind of a fun way to open a room and make some friends, and it's a different kind of thing. People are curious about it, so it's a fun conversation piece. Not a huge profit maker, I mean, I'll be honest with you, but I'm playing on house money at this point, and I have a good time, and I definitely make more money selling T-shirts and hats than I do selling bourbon, so it's kind of fun.
Well, bourbon taste tests and coffee shops, I highly recommend. I give them
Yeah,
5 stars.
well, it's an all day kind of drink.
That's right.
Oh, good stuff. David, you mentioned this earlier about this classic story you've got with this misappropriating ad spend. Most companies waste a ton of money on digital ads without even knowing it. What's one hidden drain that you always look for first?
Service area, that's kind of the big one. How far were you willing to go to sell it? A lot of companies will pick up zip codes or cities that they want to be in, but they won't take negative cities out. So if it's a place that you don't want to be, uh, for instance, if you sell a higher end product, you can actually take out lower end areas. Look at truly what's the drive times? How far are you going to send the truck? If you don't send a truck there to do a quote, then we don't need to be running ads there. So that's an easy one. And then also negative keywords. Funny thing, I got a fence company and they'd spent over the year about a couple $1,000s on the phrase invisible fence. Like, that's for dog training. You don't sell those. I mean, we got to take invisible fence off the table as far as a keyword. I think that's something else too is having the owner or the sales manager or GM, somebody routinely look at the words that people are clicking and saying, are these all still relevant? I'll give you another example from the roofing business. Roof replacement, great, big money. It's $8,000 to $20,000. Roof repair, $600. So if your margin is 12%, you can't spend $300 on a lead and get roof repair. You're going to need to figure out how to take roof repair out of the keywords and focus just on replacement or insurance help or things like that for roofing. You can upsell people who have a roof repair into a roof replacement if they need it. But for the most part, people with smaller budgets fish where the fish are. If you're maxing out your budget on roof replacement or roof, storm damage, then you start moving to those other secondary things to what's important. Those are kind of the first two things I look at is keywords and location.
That's great. Those are gold tips anyway for any of the jobbers and small businesses listening in. And what you said about negative keywords, it reminds me, back in the day, working with real estate developers and investors, did a lot of wholesale real estate and did a lot of pay-per-click, PPC. And that was definitely one area in which we optimized those efforts was by removing zip codes that were of little to no interest. And many didn't do that. They cast a wide net, and yeah, you wind up paying for it. So great, excellent tip. Thanks.
Yeah, on the roofing story, I know that you've told me this a couple of times, but I love the story you tell about actually getting rid of ad spend and using those marketing dollars, like for the roofing company, where you advise them on tarp and tree companies. So tell that story real quick because I think that was a
Yeah,
good
I,
one.
I mean, I look at the numbers and the conversion rates are not there. It's hard to track. I'm like, y'all need to let's just put it into donuts. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, get donuts. Like, I'd rather see you spend $8,000 a month in donuts than in AdWords. We can't track, we can't see, we can't do. Go get some donuts. Donuts, you get the donut holes. I thought that's kind of fun. And donut hole boxes look like little houses. So we should just make it look like a little house. And we could put our logo on there. Like, we hope these only holes you have in your house and give them out to people who are doing like we're doing a house, on a street. We just go up and down with some donuts and say, we're making some noise, but we're sorry they had some damage. Here's a peace offering in case our truck's the way, come find me or something. And give them donut holes. I mean, I think that's kind of fun, something different, stand out. I think that in the world we're in right now with digital marketing, I think a lot of shift is going to go back towards authentic stuff. It's going to be the old guerrilla marketing from the old days. It's going to be feet on the street and belly to belly talking, and human relationships are going to be a big piece of it. I was talking to Forrest a while back about websites. When I started in this business, they were in 16 colors when I started, which was a challenge, but they were a fortress on a hill. You built, a castle passed down generations in these websites. I mean, they were 3 to 4 or 5 months, and it was all this thought and all this energy. And now we build them in a weekend. But the reality is, you get your information from so many places that if you have to go to the website, that's kind of the last stop. And so we're no longer building a castle on the hill. We're building a kiosk, or we're building the I don't know what they call it, the rotunda thing on the train where the trains go. The train house. I'm willing to trust a restaurant's specials and their bands that are playing on Facebook more than I am on their website. I don't need to go to their website to get their hours anymore. I just get that from Google, or their location, or a phone number. I can get that so many other places. And even if you go think about like apps, I mean, there's probably a million people who booked airline flights today that did not go to Delta's website. They've got these apps that feed everything. So really, the website has to do a little bit different, job than it used to. I'm a big believer in build for humans. Quit trying to build for AI. AI will follow what humans are doing. You got to be seen in search, but if it doesn't connect with people, AI's can ignore it. I think there's a lot to be thinking about. How do we get our message across? And if they're going to the website, what do they really need when they finally get there? How fast do we get to them?
That's good stuff. You talk about a lot about aligning marketing and sales. What's the first step when those teams don't speak the same language when you're working with a company?
First thing I really try to do is to figure out what the whole sales process looks like. So, for instance, do you call it a proposal or a quote? And what's the difference? At my company, we learned that if I went and met with somebody about a website and they gave me what they wanted and I sent them a contract, it didn't work real well because I just papered them with terms and conditions, and we're going to sue you if you don't pay us and all this stuff. Instead, you make a really fun thing, right? It's got to look great. And we're going to do this great job for you. And you sell something. And then you send the proposal, to be signed. Understanding that vernacular, I think, is important. Understanding what the buyer really wants, I think, is important. A lot of times, salespeople are on one hill, and the clients are at another, or the marketing people are on another. You hear a lot about what's the sales journey, what's the aspirational identity. Well, somebody who wants a roof, there's no aspirational identity. They don't want a hole in they don't want the water in their house. That's it. It is not a sales journey anybody wants to be on. That's not a client journey. It's what do you do? We fix roofs. When can you do it? Tomorrow. Like that's all, that's it. There's real short journey. But when you're looking at somebody who's like buying a car, it is different. You may go and configure the car a few times. You want to think about it and pricing, and how do you buy it? So there's a lot more to it. But I think that when you really get marketing to understand how people buy, I think I'll stay on the roofing just for a second. Like one of the company I worked with, it was a roofing company, and they had a marketing company in there who was buying repair and all this stuff. And I'm like, but that's not ideal customer. The salespeople want to go replace 32 shingles. They want to replace the whole roof. And so, understanding that that's what they're trying to do, I think, is a big piece of it. How you deliver it, that's another piece of it. The timelines, that's something else that's really interesting as you start figuring out what's the sales cycle. How long does it take to go from a click to a conversion, and then when do you get paid? So those are things that I think you got to map out really carefully, and then understand to set the goals. I gotta know where I'm starting.
Good stuff.
Great. Speaking of starting, then, David, what is one practical system or tool that every founder should consider if they want marketing that eventually and actually scales?
Really, to look at what they sell. I mean, that's honestly, it's hard to say that because, like in the bourbon business, I don't sell direct. If I could, I'd be a whole different tax bracket, I think, but I have to sell to the state of Alabama. I have one customer. And so my cycle and my tools and everything I have at my disposal are very different than a roofing company or a condo leasing company or things. I think that a CRM is really critical. That doesn't mean that you have to go out and get Salesforce on day one, but it means that start with something that's just basic, and don't turn on every light in the house. So many times I go into a CRM and they've got all this stuff turned on. I'm like, you don't even use this. Like, why is this? Where did this person come from? We're capturing every inbound call. This is someone's wife calling them at work. They're in here 17 times. Like, why? So you start like, let's figure out the madness of what gets measured gets managed, you know, as a kind of a thing. And so what do we really want to know and why do we want to know it? And let's build a system out from there, but have some flexibility in what you're doing. We called it the board in my company. At Ziki, we launched 20 sites a month. That was kind of our cadence. We were fast and we were big, and we probably had, when I sold it, I had about 1,500 clients, active clients, all doing support tickets and needing domain names and email password resets. So it was a big machine. And we put ConnectWise in, which was a good tool, but it didn't do a lot. So we built stuff, which was great. I think in today's world with AI, the ability to build your own stuff and create workflows, I think is pivotal. How long's this thing been open with nobody touching it? I had an employee that I'd be like, well, did you call so-and-so? And they're like, I did. I'm like, was it a message? I'm like, no. They're like, no. I'm like, that's the same as not calling them. I mean, you know, you got to notate here that you called them. Oh, I didn't want to put on there. I called them and didn't leave a message. I'm like, well, that's why I'm asking you. So just little things, I think, how you want to manage your employees and your customers. And I was a really big believer in you know, customer service. I did not have contracts in my company. I had a less than 1% churn rate. So when I sold it, it was, yep, there's no contracts, so don't mess it up. They did good and everybody was happy, so it worked out.
It's awesome.
That is inspiring.
All right, we got last two questions. They're wild card questions, if you will, as if all the other six weren't wild for you.
Left field, right field, here we go.
What's one marketing trend you secretly wish would die, and one underrated approach more founders should try? So what's one marketing trend you secretly wish would die? It's probably Google AdWords, but an underrated approach that you wish more founders would try.
I really, I think for me, I don't like these things on websites that tell you the hot spots. People click like
Mhm.
Hotjar and these things that kind of show you, oh, they moved over here and they moved over here. Like their cat had their keyboard. You can't get data off that. I mean, like, so I like to think some of these things are just silly. It's like, what do you really find out? What's that
Yeah.
telling? Well, they click the heck out of that button. I'm like, it's the only one you have. Like, what's the other option? Leave. So yeah, that one got a lot of points. So understanding that stuff, and also, yeah, I think you did kind of catch me. All of Google's stuff that they now say are actions or activities or, you know, like, well, they scrolled and then they started to fill out a form and they scrolled some more. I'm like, they didn't fill it out. They didn't hit the button. Like, I don't care. I mean, I don't know. It's just some of these numbers, and they work really big at scale. You have big companies. You can tell data. When your site gets 10 visitors a day, you don't have trends. You have a lot of silos of data, but you do not have trends. You got to get a lot of time racked up. So that was what I don't like. And as far as trying stuff, you know, I think the non-traditional approach for stuff. You know, what do they really need? Where do these people hang out? What do they do? Like you know, if you're selling to um, property managers, don't think they're not online looking for you. Go to where go where they're at. Go to a real estate meeting or go to find out where their HOA meeting is and bring them donuts. You know, that's a great idea. Donuts for everybody. You know, it's just,
Donuts for everybody.
I don't like that. I want people to try things that are just non traditional.
Bourbon infused donuts, right, David?
I think
Hey.
it's a great idea. Yeah.
Yeah. Last question for you. We'll head out into the weekend. Can't thank you enough for joining us. It's been great meeting you. Where can people get in touch with you if they want to benefit from your expertise and maybe leverage some of your marketing acumen in their business?
Well, if I don't say LinkedIn, Forrest will come find me. So I'm gonna say I'm on LinkedIn. Like find me through Forrest for sure. And I've got a website, saltandlimeconsulting.com, which is you know, it's pretty simple. I keep it more about kind of what North Stars are my beliefs, but it's more easy way to reach me. I work on all sides projects.
So you've lived in Birmingham and beyond. You're now in Fairhope, lovely Fairhope, Alabama. What's one local experience that has shaped how you lead?
Lucy Buffett for a long time, and I went to Lulu's with a
For those who don't know, that's Jimmy Buffett's sister. Right? People locally know who that is, but Jimmy Buffett's sister. Go ahead.
yeah. I've been working with them off and on for a little bit. And I had a friend come down with me to the Gulf Shores when we went to Lulu's, and I was like, "Oh, there's Lucy. Just let her do what she's doing. She'll come. She'll be back. She'll be right." And they're like, "Where is she?" I'm like, "Right there." And they're like, "The lady picking up trash." I'm like, "Yeah, you know, because it doesn't matter who you are, you got to do it all." And you know, for me, seeing people like Lucy and yeah, I work with Jimmy for a bit, and what I saw in both of their cases and others is you got to work really hard to make things look easy. In Lucy's case, pick up trash. You set the example, and people see it, and they, you know, they can't think they're too good to pick up trash if the owner of the company's doing it. So I think you got to kind of do those things.
I love that. My heart goes out to all the trash pickers. I'm actually anti-litter. Trashy people litter.
Exactly.
I'll leave it at that.
That's right. That's right. All right, that was David Gibson, proof that clear messaging and smarter systems beat marketing theater every time.
Every
From
time.
small batch bourbon to big ticket consulting, David's work reminds us that most businesses don't need more noise, they need more alignment between marketing and sales, between message and model, between what they say and what they actually do. If your growth engine feels like it's all gas and no steering, rewind this one. I'm Forrest,
I'm Tony.
and this was Fixers and Founders.
Thank y'all.
Oh, my darlings, look at you. Still here with me till the end. That's how I know you're one of us. The fixers, the founders, the ones who build in the chaos and still manage to laugh through it. Drop a comment, share your sparks, and connect with each other. This is where the net weaving begins. Like, share, and subscribe to keep the fire blowing. Until next time.